final cell that we have in the adenohypophyse. And this cell is somatotrope. You know that somatotrope is responsible for releasing a hormone named as growth hormone. Growth hormone, again, is involved or is a part of the endocrine axis. Hypothalamus affect the pituitary gland to release growth hormone. In the hypothalamus, there are some cells that are releasing GHRH, growth hormone releasing hormone, and hormone, on the other hand, a negative regulator named as growth hormone inhibiting hormone or somatostatin. These two hormones are affecting the function of somatotropes, and somatotrope release growth hormone. Then growth hormone will affect the liver or stimulate the liver to release a hormone named as IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. And this insulin-like growth factor will cooperate with the growth hormone itself to regulate different type of function in the body that I will discuss about it. And as you see, like the other endocrine axis, this IGF will form negative feedback to the hypothalamus and pituitary gland and inhibit the growth hormone. The growth hormone itself also form the negative feedback loops to the pituitary gland and to the hypothalamus to negatively regulate itself control. One point that we have here, and this is the difference that we have between this hormone and the other hormone that were released from the pituitary gland, is that growth hormone is not just a regulator of the another hormone, but also it is involved directly in some function that are attributable to the growth hormone. For example, all the metabolic function that we know about growth hormone, all the growth promoting function of growth hormone are involved in these processes. And as you can see in this figure, growth hormone, for example, stimulate adipose tissue to decrease the glucose uptake and increase lipolysis. It affects the bone to increase amino acid uptake, increase protein synthesis, increase DNA and RNA synthesis, increase collagen synthesis, cell size and number. All these effects will promote the bone structure and bone growth and bone density. On the other hand, growth hormone itself directly stimulates the muscle cell to decrease the glucose uptake, increase amino acid uptake, increase protein synthesis. Therefore, it is anabolic. It prevents the catabolism of protein in the muscles. Therefore, it helps the muscle to be enlarged, hypertrophied. All these function that I told you was somehow exerted by growth hormone. But on the other hand, as you can see, IGF also will cooperate on the muscle, on the bone, and will do the growth promoting functions. Let's review, because we do not have any other part to discuss about the growth hormone and the function of growth hormone. Therefore, here I am going to discuss the function of growth hormone in more detail. The growth hormone, as you can see, I told you that is under the control of a balance between growth hormone releasing hormone and growth hormone inhibiting hormone, or inhibiting factor. This is IF, means that inhibiting factor. And you know that the balance between stimulatory and inhibitory function determine how much of growth hormone is released in the body. Just before discussing about growth hormone function, just review this table and all the hormone that were released in the anterior pituitary gland, and their function and their target is being summarized. And this is also showing the population of different type of cell that I told you. Somatotrope, that is really responsible for releasing of growth hormone, is the most abundant type of the cell in the pituitary gland, about 50%. Lactotrope from 10 to 30%, corticotrope 10%, thyrotrope 5%, and gonadotrope 20%. But you should know that these cells and these population are not fixed. For example, during the puberty and after puberty, that we need and release much more growth hormone, this population may change. During the pregnancy, the corticotrope, thyrotrope population will increase. And there are some pluripotent stem cells that are responsible for regeneration of new cells that were lost or cells that we needed. Therefore, this population is not fixed, and every time it is adjusted according to our need. Let's come back to the growth hormone. This is a time scale in the 20th century, just in the 20th century, and show the process of growth hormone discovery. More than 100 years ago, it was firstly extracted and described as a hormone. Then it was prepared as a drug, and when it was injected in growth deficient children, it was very effective. Then after it was the scientists were successful to produce recombinant growth hormone, and then their clinical use was approved. And all these time, growth hormone was a topic for the research and for the clinical investigations. But growth hormone, as I told you, when it is released into the blood, it is a protein. It has a basal concentration of about 3 nanogram per milliliter, and it on the cells that have receptor for it, such as muscle cell, adipose tissue, bone. The receptor is a glycoprotein that belong to the family of JAK kinase families. This hormone, when it affects its receptor, stimulate a cascade of events inside the cell that eventually lead to the production of the different type of hormones, different type of proteins that are involved in their function. What are the function of the growth hormone? Growth hormone is best known for its physiological function on the metabolism. In fact, when we say that growth hormone is named as growth hormone because it promotes growth, but the way that it affects the growth is by its metabolic effect. You can see here that growth hormone is known for its function and its ability to increase rate of protein synthesis, increasing the rate of amino acid transport, increasing the RNA translation, increasing transcription of the DNA, and also, on the other hand, decrease in the catabolism of the proteins. Therefore, the net effect is increase in the protein synthesis. On the other hand, growth hormone also stimulate the mobilization and increasing free fatty acid in the blood as the source of energy, and also decreasing in the glucose utilization. You saw on that picture that it was inhibiting glucose uptake. In fact, growth hormone is anti-insulin hormone. It works against insulin. It prevents glucose to be absorbed, uptaked, and used as energy source. Because we know that during growth periods, we need lots of energy, and glucose is the primary fuel for the brain. Therefore, it should be reserved. Growth hormone also, as you can see, increase the position of protein in the chondrocytes and osteogenic cells. Therefore, it stimulates the growth of the bones, increase the number of these cells. Therefore, you know that growth hormone is a principal factor in the growth of the bones, and particularly during the young age. It converts the chondrocyte also into osteogenic cell. Therefore, may cause the growth plate to be closed a little earlier. This table is showing the summary of growth hormone function, such as growth promoting, lipolytic hormone, lipolytic function. It have diabetogenic function, as I told you, because it inhibits the insulin function, but transiently at low level and in short term, it may have some insulin-like function. You can see that they are sometimes paradoxical. In longer time, it is anti-insulin, but transiently it make like insulin-like. This figure show that most of these effects that I told you, such as lipolysis, decreased insulin sensitivity, protein synthesis, epiphyseal growth, or are exerted by growth hormone itself. But some of the effects of growth hormone are indirectly mediated by IGF-1, such as insulin-like activity that I told you transient, is transient, anti-lipolytic activity, protein synthesis, epiphyseal growth also is being exerted by IGF-1. How the growth hormone is being regulated? I told you that we have a negative feedback with the pituitary gland and hypothalamus and the liver, and the hormone show that the same manner of the control that I told you before. When we are talking about growth hormone, we should pay attention that growth hormone is not only factor that is involved in the growth and regulation of growth. There are several other hormones that are involved in this process. Have a look at this way. In this slide show that growth hormone is a determinant factor. When we inject growth hormone to a normal animal, suddenly the rate of growth will increase. And this shows that growth hormone is very important, but we should know that this is possible just when the other hormones are normal. If I want to show you the other hormones that are involved in the process of growth of the body, I can say that growth hormone is a main factor, but also thyroid hormones are also very important. The sex hormones such as androgen and estrogen are also very important. Insulin also is very important. We cannot imagine a person that has a normal growth hormone, but for example hypothyroidism, but have a normal growth. It is impossible. This hormone should be available in combined, and you see that IGF and insulin are the hormone that are needed even during the pregnancy, and thereafter the growth hormone, thyroid hormone, and after puberty, sex hormone are also involved in the process of growth. This figure show a normal 2 years baby and a normal 8 years boy, and as you see, if this boy has a hypothyroid boy, as you see, again growth is retarded. Even just the growth hormone is normal, just the thyroid hormone was not available. The growth is retarded with different other abnormalities. And when the growth hormone is not available, again we have retardation in the growth, even though that these two boys are 8 years. This shows that combination of all hormones are important for us. I will tell you about the role of the sex hormones. during the puberty, and this figure will be reviewed again. But you can see that by starting of puberty and releasing of the several fold of the androgen and estrogens, growth of the baby will increase. Firstly in the girls because the puberty is earlier, and then in the boys. I will discuss about it in the puberty, in the topic of the puberty. And this figure show the growth of different organs until the time of about 20. When we are 20, the growth reached its highest and maximal level. We also have a phenomenon named as catch-up growth. Catch-up growth means when we have an illness, and a baby has an illness and the growth is retarded, when this disease is being cured, immediately body try to compensate the delay in the growth. In the regulation of growth hormone, some factor affect the growth hormone, particularly, for example, lowering the level of metabolites such as glucose, such as free fatty acids. Therefore, starvation is a receptor, or protein deficiency is a stimulator for the growth hormone. Hypoglycemia and low concentration of free fatty acid are growth hormone stimulant. And you can imagine the other way, those who are eating or that are overweight, those who are at high level of glucose, high level of carbohydrate, high level of fatty acid, will have lower level of growth hormone. Another factor is exercise. You know that exercise is a stimulant for growth hormone. Those who have a regular exercise have a healthier growth hormone secretion. Trauma is a stimulant for the growth hormone. Excitement. Therefore, it shows that those who have a normal active life with high level of excitement, sometimes, for example, controlled traumas, they have restricted calorie intake, not to the stage that we categorize them as food deficiency, but restricted one, have better growth hormone release. And this table show the factor that stimulate the growth hormone release and the factor that decrease. One of the factors that stimulate growth hormone release is sleep. Going to sleep is again another factor, and sleep deprivation is against growth hormone. Stressful stimuli can stimulate growth hormone, and on the other hand, a high level of stress is against growth hormone. Obesity is against growth hormone, and all these factors are involved. You can see here are stimulating the growth hormone and prolactin. And you know that in the clinic, sometimes the babies that have problem in the growth hormone release may have, we monitor them and try to stimulate growth hormone, for example, by some amino acid. Let me to tell you that some amino acids, such as arginine, are a stimulant for growth hormone, and therefore monitoring of growth is very important for us. These are the graphs that control the growth hormone, and this is showing the sleep effect of sleep and the circadian rhythm in the growth hormone release. Finally, let me to tell you some point about the growth hormone role in the aging. There are some paradoxical results, but generally, physiological growth hormone is important for the growth of the body, and it is against aging process. However, in the some pathological situation, it has been said that again growth also promote aging process. But These figures show that, for example, in those who have growth hormone deficiency, they will have age appearance. On the paradoxical view, those who have growth hormone will live longer in the life, and their ultimate aging may be postponed. This figure show the concentration of growth hormone in different level of the life. And as you see, during the puberty, it reached the highest level, and after that, it is decreasing by the aging. And it is believed that if we help the growth hormone to decrease in a normal way, not in a sharp way, is against aging. For example, those who have exercise, those who have a normal diet and restricted diet, they are not obese, they have not high carbohydrate, high fatty acid diet, they have better aging process. And if we want to say, we should have a look at this table. And when we know that obesity is against growth hormone and normal process of your body, for example, muscle protein synthesis. Therefore, obesity, those who have a restricted diet, do starvation, they have control weight, will have better muscle content, and also less speed in the aging. You know that if the growth hormone is being high after the puberty, it will cause the growth of some bones, not length bones because they are closed, but for example, you can see in the face that these are named as acromegal patient that have high level of growth hormone. The length of this file is very long. Let me to tell you that about the growth hormone, past, present, and future. There are lots of studies that are coming out. There are some studies against the growth hormone function in the aging. As I told you, there are some in the other direction. And this show that growth hormone is a topic that is a hot topic. It still remain a hot topic. I'm not going to discuss about them, but in summary, I just want you to know what is the growth hormone, what are the physiological roles of the growth hormone, and what are the controllers of growth hormone in the body. And in summary, in this topic, in these two files that I had with you, I told you about the pituitary gland, about the hormones, about the endocrine axis, the portal blood veins, and then about the hormones that are released from the pituitary gland. Particularly, growth hormone was covered. And by this slide, I am reaching to the end of this topic about the hypothalamus and pituitary gland. I try to make this convert this into one file. If it was very heavy, I will split this file into two parts. But whatever the file numbers, by this file, I can say that the topic of hypothalamus and pituitary gland is over. And next time, and in next file, I try to discuss about the other and main endocrine gland, and we will start with the thyroid gland. Until that time, thank you very much for being with me, and take care. Goodbye.